why does everybody love all the Ryan Reynolds associated brands? It's like, well, one, because he's funny, but like that's part of it. Like they're like, what if we just like did like Ryan Reynolds isn't gonna go do like just a B+ ad, right? He's like, okay, like I'm not gonna do a normal like cell phone ad. Like we're gonna do something funny or we're gonna do something different. Like otherwise I don't want to be in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that actually creator-led stuff or celebrity-led stuff is sometimes nice like that, because they will just say like, I don't care how much money it is. I don't want to be in it if it's not going to be awesome. What's up? Welcome back to the show. Today I have John Sampogna. John has a fantastic first name. My first name is also John. And we're going to talk about agency. We both have this core belief, I think, that the world doesn't need more advertising. The world doesn't need more ad agencies. Yet that's all we're doing. We're putting more ads everywhere all the time. And we're both ad guys, right? As ad guys who sell the idea of advertising, we both have this core belief, and I think it's an important one, and that's what we're going to tackle. John is the CEO, co-founder of Wondersauce, which was probably one of the first digital agencies in the game, 2011. Like
probably like V2 of first of maybe V2.
Right, yeah. Like, 'cause the first ones were like writing HTML websites.
2000, probably like early 2000s.
Yeah. You guys were the first ones doing like, I mean, you guys were in that first wave of Facebook ads and stuff like that.
For sure. First of Facebook ads, first of like brands coming to us and be like, can you figure out our social media?
Yeah.
So yeah, first of a lot of things.
All right. So let's, what I want to do real quick, I like to kind of like go back, right? Before we get started into this idea, this big idea that like, what is wrong with advertising industry? Let's like go back a little bit. Let's do the childhood thing. Like I always notice certain like breadcrumbs of entrepreneurial people in childhood. Like, is there anything from your childhood you feel like was pretty impactful to you that maybe you didn't realize at the time, but it's like been pretty impactful throughout as you look back?
Probably just the internet.
The internet.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been such a key role to how like people of my age, our adolescence came to shape. Mm-hmm. Just with being like 11 or 12 and getting like literally the internet.
Yeah.
And then things like file sharing and like college pre and post Facebook, and in our 20s, the advent of apps, and then everything going on with like Web3 and blockchain. And here we are today with AI. And I feel like everything has just kind of progressed alongside of literally how we grew up. And it was never something we had to like sit down and learn because it was like important for business success. It was just like stuff that seemed cool and we wanted to try.
Native to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some of the breadcrumbs I often see are like people who are very serious, like athletes or music, like took one thing very seriously. Or then like there's always just your hustler kids, like they were flipping sneakers, whatever. Or then there's another category that I would call like gamer or subcategories of gamers where they're just like playing with stuff, right? They're like, I don't know, what's this all about? I just want to figure this out. Like kind of acquiring random sets of skills. I'm not like, trying to typecast you here, but like, I'm guessing you're number 3. Just from that response.
Yeah. I was like always curious.
Yeah.
And even to this day, I will randomly get into something and I'll go from 0 to like 1,000 in a week and just go super deep into something. Like it could be anything like, oh, I want to learn about like the history of Boeing. Yeah. Or like, I'm really into like flipping trading cards. That's so weird.
Yeah, that got super hot a few years ago.
During COVID. It was fun and addicting. I'm like, so they're like NFTs, but they're real and they remind me of being a kid.
The live breaks, I mean, side note, like the whole like world of like live breaking is insane. There's some companies that are just like going live on TikTok all day. Yeah. Selling trading cards, like doing insane revenue.
Oh man. So I think I wrote something about this recently, but I think like companies like Whatnot and Fanatics Live, you could obviously do it on Instagram, but the idea of breaks, it's so fascinating because it's like
gambling.
It's gambling, and then it's usually when it's good, hosted by basically a really good influencer or a creator who knows their audience really well. So it's basically like watching an e-commerce TV show that's purely speculation and stocks, gambling, all that stuff. It's wild.
Simply put, like for people who are like, what the hell are you guys talking about? I've talked about this before because I've worked with a company called DAP Sports. They're big in the breaking game. Basically, you go live on TikTok. You have like a whole case of cards. Football cards are the most common right now. You have a whole case of cards, and people buy into a team. So they might buy like the 49ers or the Ravens. And then any card you open in there that's a 49er, that goes to them. So certain cases are like, oh, like where are the Brock Purdy rookies? I think he was drafted in 22 or something like that. And so like when you're opening a 22, people are buying the 49ers for more because they might get that Brock Purdy rookie, right? So it's like this sort of gambling speculation thing, but there's also this entertainment aspect. It's kind of wild, honestly.
Yeah.
A little sidetrack there, but like
Total sidetrack.
but I think it relates because I'm like, when I say like the world doesn't need more ads and advertising, that's like sales and entertainment. You know what I mean? Like that's what the world needs, like just stuff that people like watching, even if they're not buying, you know, and then they'll buy.
Yep.
So yeah, you're kind of like always toying with things growing up. What was did you do are you from here? Are you from the East Coast or?
From Long Island, New York.
Did you do the like traditional East Coast kid thing, go to good college, like get a finance degree and?
I was never really like studious.
Okay.
I went to Hunter in New York City. And honestly, I just wanted to go there because it was like an access pass to New York City.
Okay.
And I wanted to live here and just experience it. And I didn't like have a path towards like what I wanted when I grew up. I grew up playing music. I was in bands. I'd play shows in the city. I'd play shows anywhere I could. And I wanted to be in the city because I felt like it would lead me to something fun that I could monetize eventually. So yeah, I didn't go to like school to be like an ad executive, or like I didn't go to school for business with the idea that like, you know, advertising was my path. I fell into this.
Right. I think a lot of people do, you know what I mean? Like not a lot of people grow up and be like, yeah, those things that interrupt my TV show, I want to make those,
Yes.
you know, like, no, I just want more SpongeBob, dude. Like, what are we, what's all this other stuff? Okay. So yeah, like walk me through it. How'd you get to this idea? Like you were already working at agencies, you said, kind of off camera. Like,
Well, it was one of those things where, you know, I had met my business partners at an agency, and we were working on some accounts together, and we developed a really strong rapport. And it's one of those things that just happened organically. We'd go out after work and just like have beers and talk about work. We talk about what we liked, what we disliked, what we agreed with in terms of like the types of ways we would structure a project, how we would do it differently. Why did we say no to that? Why did we say yes to this?
Yeah.
We don't have enough of this resource. We need more of that. And we kind of just developed these really strong points of view on how we wanted to structure a business. And it was always like, you know, one day we'll do it. And I don't know, you have this idea in your mind that like you need to be a certain age to start a business. And I think once we threw that aside, we were kind of just hell bent that like, we're going to do this and we want to start a business, and why can't it be right now? So we developed like I remember one Saturday we developed a list, like hypothetically, if we were to have 8 hours to walk around the city meeting with people when we should be working, who would we start with? And we would talk to them about this idea of Wondersauce, of an agency. And I think we were like, let's just start doing it during like morning coffees or after work. Why do we have to wait until we're not working? And we got like 2 days in, and we had won this prototype, very small project for Anheuser-Busch InBev. And that was the start.
you guys were still at your jobs while you were doing that? Was it like a side project?
We had won the business, and then we basically like put our 2 weeks in, and
Oh, you're like, we got one client, we're out of here.
yeah, we had like no savings, no funding, no employees.
You're
We
like,
were just
it's
like,
cool though, we got a client, we're good.
we were good. Like we can live off that for 3 months. And
Yeah.
if we can't find another client in 3 months, then we shouldn't do this anyway.
Yeah, then we'll be back. Okay, so I want to double click on that because the premise here is like, what was wrong, right? Like, because let me like clarify what you said, because I've had the same experience. You go to work at an agency, a marketing agency, an ad agency. And at first it's cool, it's fun, you're learning. And then the more you learn and the more you get good at it, the more the conversation turns from, that's cool, that's fun, I learned something, to like, man, why don't we do that like this? Man, why don't we like, I feel like we're just, in more and more you get to this idea of like, we're just not doing it how I would like to do it, that I think would be better for the client, usually is kind of where you're coming from. Back then, this is probably 2010, right?
Mm-hmm.
What were those things that were just like really common in the ad agency space that you're like, I just don't think this is the right way?
Well, it's not even per se that any of my previous employers were doing anything wrong. It's differences of opinions. And then when you actually like get into the business, like when I put on my like entrepreneur and business owner hat, I see why they were doing it in hindsight.
Yes.
I think like, you know, hindsight's always easier to like look back on, but I feel like it's little stuff. It's like resourcing. It's committing to timelines. It's all the stuff that everyone complains about.
Right.
And it could be, and it's also even little things like the way you would structure a creative process and work sessions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
structuring a creative process already is a crazy statement, right? If you think about it.
exactly.
Like, is that a creative process if you've structured it? You
No.
know? No. It's like we've got 2 hours to be creative between
Like,
2 and
turn
4.
it on right
between
now.
2 and 4
Yeah.
after lunch before this meeting. you
Yeah.
know?
And I still get that to this day. I'm
Yeah.
like talking to my team and they need me to join a meeting. And I'm like, what hat am I wearing? Like, we need you to like push the team creatively. I'm like, okay, so at like 3 o'clock, I need to be creative. Got
Right.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's 3 o'clock is creative time today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what the way that I would like really summarize it? And I would say this is like generally what's wrong with like why most people don't like advertising. One, it's everywhere. It's interrupting their stuff that they want to watch and stuff like that, right? But I mean, that's part of the game. Everybody gets that, right? Like that's how the creators monetize. That's how TV monetizes. Whatever you watch or listen to, that's how they monetize. Everybody understands that. But the people who make the ads are agency people. Some are in-house people. And the way that you run a business is you create processes that are repeatable, processes and systems that are repeatable, and you get a relatively consistent result from. The problem is in advertising, like you don't really want to be McDonald's. You go to McDonald's, you know what you're getting every single time. Lots of people eat there every day, right? That's actually a great way to run a business. It's not the best food, but it's consistent. You know what you're getting every time and we can mass produce it. That's like not a good way to make great ads. A good way to make great ads is to make A+ stuff that doesn't necessarily have processes, is like actually creative, but that's not a good way to run a business. So when you create an agency, you do this thing where you have to like run a business and create processes, but then that leads to a lot of like B advertising.
100%.
Like, let's do a lot of B+ work. And B+ work is what people see in the world and they're like, all right, I guess I have to deal with
And
this.
and I had no interest in
repetitive.
doing repetitive work.
Yeah.
I did not want to build the best agency that was amazing at doing X. That to me is incredibly boring. And I would just try and build like a marketing platform to do that and then license it and not have any clients, except for agencies. But it was one of those things for me where the reason why I like working in agencies is because you get exposure to so many different businesses, so many different industries, so many different smart people. It's intellectually stimulating.
Yeah.
So for me, I love the idea of our only constant being change, where like we don't just create ads, we create websites, apps, we buy media. Yes, we create ads across like the full spectrum of what you need to be relevant today. But when we work with a brand, sometimes it's like a very specific deliverable, but sometimes we're working against a business goal and we're able to basically just figure out how to make the customer's experience a little bit more pleasant. So for me, it's like, it's problem solving. And the way we built Wondersauce was our process is never consistent. We like having frameworks we can apply to any process. Sometimes we're working with an entrepreneur and the team is a founder and a partner. Sometimes we're working with a massive Fortune 100 company. We do not have a one size fits all. So from things like process building, resource management, everything that we do operationally is built with that idea of change being kind of like a key part of it. So it allowed us to create a dynamic agency where our output is so diverse, but things somewhat feel
it's really hard to
contained.
operate.
Yeah.
Really, really hard to operate. And I mean, I don't even know. We haven't even talked about that yet, but you just said all that stuff. And having been in the agency world a bunch, I just already know that's super hard to operate. Like you got to hire great people. You got to be able to like train them in this very bespoke way. Like that it's super difficult. But I think that's how we get better stuff in the world. You know what I mean? Like it makes me think of like Ryan Reynolds' agency. Like, why does everybody love all the Ryan Reynolds associated brands? It's like, well, one, because he's funny, but like that's part of it. Like they're like, what if we just like did like Ryan Reynolds isn't gonna go do like just a B+ ad, right? He's like, okay, like I'm not gonna do a normal like cell phone ad. Like we're gonna do something funny or we're gonna do something different. Like otherwise, I don't want to be in it. Yeah, you know what I mean? And I think that actually creator-led stuff or celebrity-led stuff is is sometimes nice like that, because they will just say like, I don't care how much money it is. I don't want to be in it if it's not going to be awesome. Right. And that pushes you a little bit. But yeah, I think like there are some agencies and advertising that's sort of bucking the trend, but that's what it is. It comes down to like, it's very hard to operate a business that creates like A+ creative works that go into the world, or A+ customer experiences that go into the world.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think like the Ryan Reynolds example is interesting because I think he's done a really nice job of his brand partnerships, and whether he owns them or he's like, affiliated with them.
Yeah.
It feels authentic to him, and he kind of builds it so it's like it doesn't feel abnormal or like, oh, it's just like a celebrity stamp. It's like,
I know,
it just feels right. And I think that's why it resonates so well with the audience.
That's exactly right. It's a very new kind of way of doing celebrity partnerships, because if I understand it right, he has like an advertising agency. So they'll contract with his advertising agency, and then he also will like, especially I think if he's in the ads, he'll take equity in the companies instead of being like a celebrity endorser. So The Rock is doing a lot of this too, I guess, right now. I don't see his stuff as much. I see the obviously Mint Mobile and stuff like that. So like the problem with the agency model and the reason it's so operational is because a client could drop you. They could, what happens a lot is their staff turns over. Right?
Sure.
They get a new head of marketing. That head of marketing knows somebody at another agency, so they want to take their business to another agency. So you have to operationalize because you have to keep clients flowing in. And so I think the way that he's getting around that is by basically saying like, no, I own part of the companies. Like they're not leaving. Right.
Yeah.
So we can do great work for this company, and our agency and this company can grow together, and that's, it works together,
Yeah. Yeah, the agency business operationally is wild. All the stuff you just mentioned, and it's like
you're selling human capital. Like you're selling like human skills and
that
time,
work well together and
Yeah.
put out a consistent product. And it's funny. I think like I like to think that our business every single year we have to replace 30 to 40% on a good year of our revenue. Plus we have to grow. Yeah, and that's like not even that bad for most agencies. And some agencies have to replace a lot more than that.
I know. Yeah. Do you guys have to grow? Because you mentioned off camera, and we can hit this briefly. Like you guys got an acquisition back in 2016.
Yes.
So it's like part of that is like, yeah, we didn't used to have to grow, but we kind of have to grow now.
No, it's not like
it's more just like if we're not growing, we're dying. Type
well,
of thing.
we want to. I think growth is a good sign of market viability.
Yeah.
And the market is so dynamic. It used to change very fast, since the inception of our business in 2011. But I feel like now it's hyperspeed.
Yeah.
And even like our competitive set, we're up against huge traditional agencies that have been around for like 80 years. And then we're up against like tiny startups.
Some couple dudes over. And
there's no right or wrong answer to who you select because there's so much good work being produced. So I feel like if you're growing, if you're saying yes to work and no to work at the same time, you have a healthy business. So we're just motivated to remain viable and to be able to have access to really interesting opportunities. Because for us, it's about maintaining our people too. It means a lot to me that the people that work at Wondersauce have access to incredible things to work on. And I want them to feel fulfilled and happy, and I want them motivated to produce great work. And the only way to produce great work is to get access to good work.
Yeah.
So for me, growth has always been important. It doesn't even mean like headcount growth. I think it could just mean like bottom line growth or top line growth or whatever.
Yeah. I think that's where we're like, honestly, I think my biggest question is like, if that's the vision, because if I were telling somebody how to make an agency, I'd be like, dude, do you just want to make money? If you just want to make money, figure out a service that you can kind of like do and create a process for that, like you can train people to do. And you can kind of do it the same way every time, and it will produce a pretty good result.
Yeah.
And then figure out how to sell it over and over, and you'll make money. You'll make a lot of money doing that. And that like isn't what you want to do. And what you're doing is a lot harder. And you said off camera, you have like 70 people or something like that. Like that's wild to me. Like you already have an operationally very difficult business with 70 heads. Like how I have no other question other than how. That's my same question. I don't know.
No. I mean, we have a great team that I always say like what I'm really proud of, especially we have a pretty interesting story. It was, when we first launched the business, it was a couple of us. And inside of like 3 years, we went from 2 people to 100 people. And there was no funding. We didn't really have any accounts when we started. It just, boom. We were so fortunate. We worked really hard, but it was a wild growth story. And we didn't have to like get serious about operationalizing our business till probably year 5 or 6 when we were like, whoa, we came up for air and all these people work here. Now, how are we going to like actually build disciplines and structures so this is not just completely insane all the time?
Yeah, so many agencies, a lot of agencies will ask me for consulting because I guess because I sold an agency and then I led like a big growth period at an agency. And honestly, like I don't necessarily, I think when you never feel that qualified in the thing you're an expert in, you know what I mean? I feel like the stuff you know the most about, that's where your imposter syndrome is the worst. Because it's that, what is the Albert Einstein quote? The more you know, the more you realize you don't know type of thing. So, but a lot of people ask me about that. And that happens a lot because, so it's like you grow, like it's fun. And then you get to this head count and you're like, okay, I get it. We do. So the systems and processes thing before that I hated at the other, we need some of those. How do I do that without losing myself and becoming the thing that I didn't like in the first place?
The reason why we have had success is because we spend a lot of time focusing on the least sexy aspects of our business. I can talk about creative all day. I can talk about where media is going, where tech's going. I love that stuff. But guess what is not fun to talk about? Like resource management, always having access to new talent to hire. What does onboarding and offboarding look like? All of these aspects of the business are the most important thing. And I think at a lot of agencies, things like resource management, it's the pit of your existence. It's terrible. It's
people
not
who are
fun.
entrepreneurial don't.
They don't want that.
They want to talk
And
about tech.
it's chaos.
Yeah.
There's never enough time. There's never enough people. And there's always 2 teams that are incredibly unhappy. And I think at a lot of other agencies.
If you hire people to do it, the main thing that they'll do is move you from Monday to Notion, and then from Notion to ClickUp, and then from ClickUp to like it's like
they will not solve the problem.
They won't. They'll just move you to different tools. Yeah.
And I will say this: things like resourcing, we have incredibly senior people that are hands-on from a resourcing perspective, because at the end of the day, the agency business is a people business, and we need to have the right people on the right account to deliver results for our clients. And something like resourcing is so critical. And I see it time and time again when I look at other agencies and they ask questions and they're like, John, can you help us figure this, and this out? And they either aren't thinking about it at all, or they're treating it as if it's like this insignificant thing, like we have to just, order more coffee every single week. No, that's like your lifeblood, because it leads to culture and happiness and output.
Right. Okay, I want to rewind for a second. You kind of told how you got that first client. There's a number, some listeners of the pod who are like early on in their journey. And honestly, I think one of the things I usually say to people who are early in their journey of like, entrepreneurial, is like, learn a skill, which you already had the skill, right? Like you already had some skills in advertising and marketing. Learn a skill, do the skill for others, sell that. Like that's the best way to get started, right? And if you want to do like tech or like that's just, it's cash flow, right?
Sure.
So I think I want to kind of rewind for those people for a second and say like, all right, you got that first client. So first of all, actually that list you made, you started meeting with people. Like, did you already know people? Were you already connected, or were you just cold outreaching to people?
No, it was like friends and friends of friends.
Okay.
And
so you were connected to them having been in the industry for a few years, or?
Yeah, like people, this was back when, like, I joke about this now, but like back in 2008, 9, there was like advertising Twitter in New York City. There was like a good culture of people on Twitter that all worked at like different agencies. And it was very, very common to like have meetups, and it was just, it was different.
Yeah, Twitter was a wild place in 2009.
It was funny. But yeah, it was connections that we had, and I think we got like 6 or 7 deep into that list, and then we were off and running, and that was it. It was put out great work, and our reputation, word of mouth, and referrals drove the next 12, 13 years.
So what's the takeaway there for like somebody who is in that like beginner stage? Because like, let's say I'm like, well, I don't know, I'm not connected. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, this is an amazing time to start any type of business, but specifically a services business, I think it's a great time to start an advertising agency. I mean, or any agency. I think like
The world doesn't need more advertising, but this is a great time to be
any
really good
agency.
at it.
I don't even classify us as an ad agency. I think we're just whatever. We're an agency.
Marketing agency.
Yeah,
a services business, a business
services
where you do
business.
things for businesses. Yeah.
Exactly. But I think the economy is a little wonky right now, which we started Wondersauce during a recession.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're not in a recession right now. I don't know if we're going towards one, but it's definitely a little bit weird.
Yeah.
I know inflation's hot again.
It's not as bold as it has been or whatever, but yeah.
And then usually that's a great time to start a services business because pricing is going to get shooken up. So if I was looking to start out, things I'd be kind of things I think you can easily scale right now. So if you are a designer or a developer who knows how to operate within like a Webflow or a Shopify, and you have 2 to 3 friends that know how to do that, you could bang out Shopify websites all day long. If you are inherently great at creating content, you're a creator, you're an influencer, or you're just creative and you know how to do a lot with your phone, and you have a friend who understands a little bit about performance marketing, you can pair creative, you can pair performance, and you could do that all day long for businesses that need help placing and buying ads, outside of Google, outside of Facebook. Do some connected TV, do some audio, think outside the box. But those 2 areas specifically, which basically is like a smaller version of our service offering, you can do right now. And if you're good at it and you have 2 to 3 clients, realistically, you can compete in like 6 months with us, because that's how fast things could evolve.
Yeah. And I think I think people hear it in their, like somebody might hear where you started and they might be like, oh, well, yeah, you already knew people or whatever. Like you already had this Twitter community. I'm like, you're not like huge on Twitter,
No,
what I mean?
I don't even.
It's like you got a few hundred followers or 1,000, whatever. Like it's like, yeah, like I just connected with like a few people that were in a tight community, reached out to them, and like that's not that hard. Anybody who's a beginner can do that,
we didn't have any connections. It was like,
right.
I mean, it was, we had
and
no
literally,
more,
if you don't know them at all, you can just cold outreach to
You
them.
can
Send them a DM.
yeah, there was no more connections than like, we had some friends and friends of friends that like worked at brands and worked at other agencies. But I think like, that's not uncommon. So,
So was that the process you followed for a while? Was it just like, keep the kind of agency going and growing? It was like, keep reaching out to those brands that are kind of our ideal, like our people we really want to work with. Service them, reach out to them, service them, reach out to them. Was that like the formula for a minute or?
No, it was a formula like pre-launch and then maybe like the next month. And then it was just like, we are now servicing our clients and we're putting out great work. And then we're just in it and we're getting referrals from our new clients and friends, and you're just moving. And we're promoting our work too.
Has it been 100% referral based since then, or?
Yeah, we don't do any cold outreach or any you
guys do like content or?
We create content on like Instagram and LinkedIn, and honestly, like that's largely because we've got points of view on the work that we're doing, but I don't have like a dream list of clients that we're going for. I like situations that I know we can succeed in.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's pretty simple. Like basically you guys have just focused on doing good work, getting referrals, and then putting out content.
If you do great work,
LinkedIn and Instagram,
you will get more clients.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like,
and you'll keep your current clients. Easy to grow revenue when you keep your current revenue.
Yes. And I will say this, like, I think it's because we started our business when we were like 26 years old, 27, something like that. And we had to fight the perception that we were just going to like design really cool stuff. And we were like, no, we're actually like super pragmatic and we're business oriented. And we were hyper focused on delivering business results. So we would almost like deprioritize all of the sexy creative we were putting in front of our clients and focus on like, we really want to like unpack your goal. How are we going to achieve it? What does attribution look like? And I think that was like very refreshing back then. And even to this day, where we can kind of reflect on the success of our projects and be like, we did a good job. Look.
Yeah. You said you got like 5 years in before you like really came up for air and we're like, okay, we got a lot of people now. And yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I think that like, really it's not too complicated. Like if you're not doing anything right now and you want to do a service, number one, you do have to have the skill. Like don't go sell a skill that you don't have.
No, don't do that.
That's how this industry gets a bad name and how a lot of bad advertising goes out into the world. But like, yeah, if you have the skill, like you get a few, do good work, keep them, they'll refer you clients, and then make some content about what you're doing. It's really simple, right?
Yeah.
Post the content on LinkedIn or Instagram or Twitter or wherever, right? Like super simple. What do you see as the biggest problem? So we kind of talked about like what you felt like the big problems were back in like 2009, 2010. What do you feel like the biggest problem is like now today? It stems from a lot of the same stuff we talked about, but like, how do you think it shows up today?
It's a lot right now. I think it's an interesting time to work with so many brands. I think there's a lot of opportunity right now that are derived from problems. I don't even think it's problems. I think it's complacency. I think there's a lot of brands that are like really, really reliant on Meta and Google from an acquisition standpoint.
Yeah.
And they're afraid to diversify their spend. And we think of
it's
that.
It's not 95% of e-commerce spend. But I have a lot of data because I work at Triple Whale. So 10% of all of Shopify's revenue goes through Triple Whale. 95% of the advertising spend is on Meta and Google.
Like, and even, I mean, that's wild. I mean, even bringing that percentage down in your annual marketing plan to like 80 or 70% and taking 20 to 30% and diversifying it across like hockey stick opportunities where if you hit one of them, it's like you could actually scale it. That to me is like, it's a no-brainer. And we're advising a lot of our clients on areas where we think there's opportunity. And, you know, for me, like anytime I see fragmentation and chaos, I see opportunity. So I think like connected TV, there's a lot of opportunity. You know, these streamers are all rushing to market. They're all trying to get subscribers.
Yeah.
They're all trying to get content. Probably third or fourth on their list is like a buttoned up ad platform. To me, opportunity.
Right.
Because we can probably get it at a good cost and we can get premium high impact placement that doesn't cost more from a creative standpoint than producing Facebook ads. Yeah. So I think that's an opportunity. I love the idea of like independent podcasts where you get a talented host like yourself to do ad reads.
All right.
And, you know, obviously you can do the network podcast thing too, but, and even things like digital out of home, it's trackable, traditional out of home in the right markets.
Yeah.
There's a lot right now. So from a media standpoint, I think basically forcing yourself to not be complacent, that to me is a big opportunity.
I don't have a lot of data on CTV to like confirm that for you, but I can confirm independent podcast and obviously I have bias toward that. Independent podcast and YouTube creators. So like reaching out to YouTube creator, doing an integration with them or their agents. Sometimes they have agents or whatever, but like specifically being like that channel, not like doing some mass buy across a bunch of creators through an agency, like that channel. We want to be on that channel. We want that creator. You know, you want that like them reading us, you know, so for a podcast or for creator. I have some data on that. It's not incredibly scalable, but there are a lot of brands who do it and it's like their highest ROI channel. It's just hard to scale for sure. You know?
You have to build lists of independent podcasts based on industries and audiences. And that way.
And there's not that many that have a ton of reach.
Right. But the thing is, I think niche is an opportunity. Yeah. If you have 700 people that are super engaged, that's pretty good because you could probably convert.
It's going to be very high 5% ROI.
Of them.
It's going to be very high ROI. And if you have a product that's a consumable or clothing where they can come back and buy from you again and stuff like that, it's great. It's all about customer acquisition. If you can acquire a customer for a really low cost, then that's great. Like that's really a route to go. Yeah, I have data on that. CTV, I don't have a ton yet, but that's an interesting thing too. Everybody obviously is also talking about TikTok Shop.
Yep.
Probably some outsized opportunity there. There's a lot of red tape to get through, but some outsized opportunity there as well, I think. All right, so I think to answer my own question too, so back to what the question was is, how do I feel like that issue is showing up? So again, the core issue is kind of like an agency is a business owner, founder, CEO, operator, whatever you want to call them. They have to create processes and systems. And so they end up doing this thing that's like, what's our playbook? Mm-hmm. And then they try and bring that out to a bunch of different services. Like they say, like, we do Google, we do Facebook, we do TikTok, we do email, we do, CRO, we do everything. And we have a playbook for each of them, that we follow. And the playbook produces B work, right? That's the core problem. B work at best. Sometimes it's like worse than that. I think it shows up in a lot of basically meta creative. By meta, I mean like Facebook, Instagram ads that looks the frickin' same. Every brand is an influencer saying, or some content creator saying like, oh my gosh, this product literally changed my life. Like it's every ad, dude. Like, and yeah. And it's just like, I think that's how it shows up. It's like all these agencies have created this process where we source 200 creatives a week from influencers for creators, and they all are the same. And then they find the angle that works, and they just tell all the creators to do that same angle, and we're not trying anything new.
Yeah, I mean, we also, like, when we see success, it's an easier thing to sell in. And we also have to understand that, you know, if we have 5 or 6, like, hockey stick growth ideas, sorry, I keep saying that.
No, that's good. Though. Like it's a asymmetric upside is what you mean. So
Yes.
like a low risk, high opportunity might not work, but even if it doesn't,
we also have to respect that, like, you know, sometimes you've got to like mitigate risk and not just jump at everything that might sound interesting. And the one thing I'll say is just like from a media perspective, I feel like if you are running a brand and you brought your plan out on Friday night to happy hour and you showed your friend and your friend worked in the industry, none of them will get surprised.
Yeah.
And I would want to, I want to go, I want our clients to bring a plan in and to show their friend over a drink and for them to be like, yeah, looks pretty good, but what's that right there?
What's
Talk to
going
me
on
more
there?
about that.
Yeah.
And that to me is like, all we're looking for right now is like, not, whoa, that's the whole plan is who would you hire? It's absolutely psychotic. I'm looking for 20, 30% of it to be intellectually stimulating for a tiny bit and be like, is it going to work? We think so.
Yeah.
And if it does, it's going to have a lot of upside. And if it doesn't work, it's not going to be catastrophic. You'll learn from it.
Yeah.
And I think like, you know, the other side of our business where we're creating still from a design and development standpoint, we're building e-commerce experiences, we're building mobile applications, and that's still a very big part of our business. And that side of the business too has been kind of web standard to death because over the last 10 years, web standards have evolved and there are certain ways of doing things because they're best practice. And I think what we're about to see is a new wave of web standards be introduced over the next 5 years because of things like AI, where we're going to be able to like blow up the traditional e-commerce experience again because we're going to have access to things we didn't have access in the past to. So things like, you know, I'm personally fascinated by like what will injecting AI look like for e-com. And I think like if you're an apparel brand, imagine rethinking the idea of your models where the people that are featured on your site are all AI, you know, generated, and I can kind of log in. I can give you my height, my weight. They could scan me, and ultimately now either I'm in the ad, I'm on the website, or someone that looks exactly like me, and I could basically sit on my couch and have like a live lookbook of the stuff I want to wear this summer, and know exactly how it's going to look and fit on me. And I could even bring in third parties from other stores and try on hats and belts and whatever else I want to try. I think like that is what could be incredibly fun from a shopping experience standpoint. I can get it tailored and altered and all that stuff. So we're going to see like a new wave of product development starting to hit the market right now. And I think that's going to be fun for users to engage with.
Yeah. You said something like, if you brought your like plan out and nobody was surprised by it, like who works in the industry, you know what I think another good litmus test is? It's like bring your plan to just like your girlfriend or you're like some just like normal person who's not in the industry and see if they're like, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. Like I'll show stuff to my wife and she'd be like, but why would people buy it though? And I'm like, what? Like way to shoot down the whole thing. Like I don't know if you're not getting that, then I think it's not working. You know, like even if you're not the market, like she should get why people would buy it. You know what I mean? And there are some things where it's like you don't really get like the sports breaks thing, like we talked about earlier. If you're like not in that, I don't know if you get it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like why do people buy it? They're like, it's like kind of like gambling. It's a little bit of a dopamine hit.
It's like reality TV.
Yeah. It's hard to, I get it. It's hard to explain. So there is some stuff like that, but like, I mean, show your stuff or like show your ideas to normal people. And if they're like, yeah, that would be awesome. Like you just said, like, what if you went to a website to buy clothes and it was just like you on the site, you're on your phone looking at you on the site, seeing how the clothes would fit you and seeing what you want to wear. like anybody could like hear that and be like, yeah, that would be great. Like I would probably buy more stuff from a website that did that. You know?
And it doesn't even have to be you. It could be like one of the models who just is your height and weight and body type because you don't feel comfortable being on there.
That's a V1 version.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know, because you don't feel comfortable being in their ecosystem or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think like the idea of PDP being, you know, image on the left, details on the right, the add to cart above the fold, everything anchoring up top in terms of the sale or promotion, that works right now. But I'm ready and hopeful that that's going to get shooken up in the next few years as new technology becomes scalable and we're able to actually inject a bit more life into things.
Yeah.
Like I remember like when we were designing experiences, it used to be really hard to get that massive hero image on the homepage. That's like you go to the site and you see
of a web, like
the
e-commerce
homepage of a
website.
website. You see like the big image. That used to be really hard to get sold into brands. They would be like, there's nothing above the fold. That's just
You need
big,
products
giant
up there.
big image.
Yeah.
And now every single website across category has the big image.
Yeah.
So we've gotten to a point where web standards are so mature and so tested because we have the data that I think it's only going to take a little bit of new tech to kind of throw a wrench into that.
Yeah.
And I think we're about to have that run where there's going to be a premium on people who truly understand UX and product design and the implications of technology. And I'm really excited for that again because it's really fun creating branded experiences.
And you use the term PDP, so just vocab there, product display page. So you're talking about a product page on a website.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I think I agree. Yeah. Like on board, I think that's A+, right? Like that's what the world needs more of is like just better user experience, better advertising stuff that's actually more relevant to them. I want to switch gears last few minutes and talk about kind of something I like to like sort of end on is just what's a problem? It could be a business. I mean, dude, if you want to talk about personal problems, we can talk about that too, I guess. But like a business problem or something you're working on right now, right? That is just on your mind or, you know, just something you're trying to crack that you'd like to do like a little brainstorming session.
It's been kind of like a 13-year problem.
Yeah. Okay, well.
About, you know, we do so much as an agency. We do not have a one sentence explanation for how to position our business. So we can just go deep down this hole and say, we do this, buy it. We do this, buy it. And again, I don't necessarily want that, but I feel like we've got two distinct areas that we play in. We produce creative and pair that with performance and paid media. And then we build things. We build websites and apps and digital experiences. And when you kind of blend those things together, we do like everything. So it's kind of it's tough thing to position.
Everything is nothing, right? You
Yeah.
know, in messaging. That was such a lame statement.
No, but it's true. Like
it is true, but it's like when you do everything, people don't know how to like put you in their mental Rolodex.
Yeah.
Or I don't know what do kids call a Rolodex now. Contacts. They don't need to know how to put you in like how to categorize you.
Yeah.
And so everything is nothing that you just kind of don't get categorized or don't get remembered.
And you don't want to go to market saying like we're full service or
because everybody is. We're full stack growth marketer. Yeah.
So I think,
buzzword.
you know, and we've been on this crusade of like we can do these buckets of work incredibly well and we can bring it together. But yeah, like the positioning of that is tricky. It's like, do you break apart into like smaller businesses that all kind of ladder up? But that seems way unnecessarily.
Can I maybe ask? I don't know. This is a 13-year problem, so I'm sure you've looked at it from a lot of angles. Let me see if I can just ask some shake-up questions here. Just shake something loose. So probably something you've already been through is like, who's like an ideal client for you? Like you could say a brand or like that you've worked with that was really great, or just like kind of some characteristics.
I would say if you're a business trying to reach the majority of your audience on screens, to do something, to buy, to walk into a restaurant, to go to a physical thing and shop. It doesn't have to be like e-commerce or digital acquisition.
That's
reaching
a lot of it
people
lately
through screens is the primary objective. If you're a brand, that's your primary objective, and your all-in marketing spend is between $2 and $12 million.
Okay.
We are, I think, a very compelling business because we could advise on the digital property side and make sure that your infrastructure is built to convert.
Yeah.
We can give you a truly thoughtful paid and performance plan, and we can give you, I hate saying full funnel creative, but like we can balance awareness through lower funnel in a way that I feel like will meld with the media plan in a really authentic way.
Basically, like I'm gonna like, this is maybe not how you'd want to summarize it, but if I were to simplify it, I would say like the reason you're working with those kinds of companies, 2 to 12 million is not enterprise, but it's not small, right?
Yeah.
They've got a marketing team internally. That's a company with, more than probably 5 people working there. Most of the time, more than 10 people working there. A lot of times more than 20 people working there, right? So it's like not small companies, but not like, we're not talking about the Nikes of the world here, right? So the reason you're working with those kinds of companies is because you offer what somebody would, you offer like services and solutions that like a lot of people would call bespoke or just very customized to them. And so that's what you're having a hard time. Like, how do I just like message that out into the world?
And those budget thresholds, it gets sloppy if you're managing 2 to 3 different partners. So I believe that like if you've got a partner who can be accountable for your most important business goal, and that is basically, that could be, we want to grow
New customers
online
or revenue
30% this year and migrate our sales from off to on. We want to reach a lower, we want to reach a younger audience, whatever your goal is, then there's really no one to blame if you're not hitting the goal. You can't say as a creative agency, oh, the performance from the digital, it's the performance from the paid media partner was not up to snuff. They didn't do a good job. And if you're the performance agency, you can't say, oh, the ad sucked. The creative's no good. So we want to be accountable for your most important business goal and build a plan to get there. And I think that in those kind of like spend thresholds, it just doesn't make sense to have multiple parties.
Yeah.
If you're spending $800 million on paid and you have a $10 million creative budget, it's different scales.
All that, yeah, that's all of that, like you're very passionate about it, right? That's the reason you have a hard time messaging it, because like to simplify it to like one brief message, you feel oversimplifies it basically.
Yeah.
Now explain your ideal customer to me again, but pretend I'm 12.
We want to work with people who give us the ability to produce good work. Partners and partnerships are words that are thrown around in our industry a lot, and I like to consider that tenure is a proof of partnership. And what I'm most proud of is that we have employees that have spent 10 plus years at Wondersauce. We have clients that have spent 10 plus years with Wondersauce. I think we have like a 99% repeat client rate. So I am not looking for the best luxury brand or skincare brand or automotive company. I'm looking for partners who don't see us as a vendor. They see us for what we do. We also don't think we know more than our clients. Our clients are incredibly sophisticated and they are very savvy when it comes to the marketing and the work that they're putting out. So we are looking for collaborative relationships that allow us to together produce great work. And that sounds like so cookie cutter and corny.
That was, if I was 12, I'm asleep, by the way. I'm like, I'm checked out.
If you were 12 and you asked me that question,
you'd be like, I don't know, daddy sells things on the internet. Whatever. That's what I tell my kids. I'm like, I don't know, I sell stuff.
Yeah, my family still to this day, they're like, dude, John works in computers. I'm like, yeah. I literally build computers. That's what I do. I work at HP. I build computers.
Yeah. So if I were to, I don't know if I could take a crack at that, but like the ICP, like I'm 12, and then like if I were to say that, I would say, we work with medium-sized businesses that want to create really great marketing and advertising, and they want it to be better than everything else out there. That's how I would explain it to a 12-year-old, right? And that's why I didn't say 6. People always say, explain it to me like I'm 5. I'm like, dude, you do not know 5-year-olds. You can't explain anything to them. Okay, now the next shake-up question I have. Explain what you do for them, but again, pretend I'm 12.
So you know the things you look at on your screen all the time?
Yeah.
That stuff.
Yeah.
Like when you're seeing something that's not from your friends or your family,
It's from
it's
a business.
from a business, and we help them with that.
Okay. That's great. That was a way better, like I'm
I didn't take the first time you asked me, I didn't take it too literally. I was like, I went right into like sales mode. I was like,
I know. Yeah, I know.
partners, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Okay. So that's like, you want to work with people who want to create way better than average marketing advertising. And you are there to help them with the stuff that goes onto people's screens.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's the very simplified message. It maybe feels oversimplified for your ideal customer because you feel they're very sophisticated, right? But I think personally that is the simplified message. And my finding is that even people who are like head of growth or a CMO or something like that at a company like that, it's refreshing when somebody says like, look, all we want to do is create incredible, way better than average marketing and advertising for people who want to get their advertising onto screens and get customers from screens. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
John, where can people find you?
LinkedIn.
John
Sampogna.
Spell your last name.
Sampogna, or on wondersauce.com.
Wondersauce.com. So if you're a company that wants to do advertising and marketing that is way better than everything else out there, and you want to put it on screens and get customers from screens,
Love to talk to you.
talk to John. Thanks for being on the show, man.
Thank you.